all right. There we go. There we go. Good evening from Nairobi. Good evening from Nairobi. My name is Christine Mweteeli, and this here is the Midlife Series. I started this session last week, and I'm just going on with the second part of this. Last week, we introduced the whole concept of midlife. I was just talking about how I got this idea in my head to share my thoughts. And if you know me at all, then you know that I live on the mantra learning aloud, and whatever it is I'm learning, I like to share it with others. And so I got this idea of just sharing what lessons I've learned through midlife, and I got overwhelming response. I am so excited. Thank you so much for those who engaged me. I've had a lot of conversations in my inbox. A lot of people engaged me concerning midlife, saying most people seem to think midlife starts at 40. I had a lot of people telling me midlife is probably at 45. I'm not very sure. I want to give it a number. I don't think, because all of us develop differently, all of us consider our lives differently, and therefore, I don't think I want to put it on a specific number. I'm not sure that midlife is about a particular number, but in my own definition, midlife is that point in your life you reach where you can no longer use youth as your excuse. Whatever it is that you've done or not done, you can never qualify your decisions. You can never qualify what you do or don't do based on, I am too young. On the day you figure, hey, now I am grown up. That will happen for some people because of an event. A lot of people will probably think I am all grown up now based on I've moved out of home. I am all grown up based on I have finished school. I have gotten the job of my dreams. I have now bought a house, bought a car, whatever it is, whatever event it is that shakes you to the reality of hello, I am now an adult, I am now grown up. That's what I'm calling midlife. And I remember that mine happened. I had grown up looking forward to 35. By the time I'm 35, I'll have done this. By the time I'm 35, I'll have achieved this. And I had a whole lot of dreams and aspirations. And this is natural. Everyone has their own dreams and aspirations. And when 35 came, I actually didn't notice it. At that point, I had a new baby. My last baby was born when I was 35. And the whole year 35, I wasn't very conscious of, hey, I had pegged a lot of things on age 35. What slapped me across the face was 36. When on my 36th birthday, I remember thinking, whoa, 35 has come and gone. And that is when I woke up to, hey, I need to be achieving this. I need to be making this happen. And so what I want to consider as midlife for me happened ever since I have been 36, and I have learned a lot of lessons through then. I have made a lot of mistakes. I have achieved a lot of things that I had looked forward to achieving. And so my life, like anybody else's life, has been about ups and downs. So this is what we've been discussing here. This is what I want to discuss here. And I want to go easy with this. I want to keep this conversational. You can get in the chat and talk to me during this. And even if you watch this as a recording later on, I would recommend that you put in the chat your comments and everything. If you're new to my content, I do have a YouTube channel entitled Life Lessons by Christine. It's by my name, and if you can see this, obviously you can see the spelling of my name. So if you go to YouTube, Christine Mweteeli, you will find my YouTube channel. I would recommend that you like my content, that you subscribe, and that you share. I'm going to post this into that channel as well, and therefore you can interact whether you do that here on Facebook or that you do it on YouTube. That is all the same. I would really like for us to have this conversation. Now, a quick recap on what we were talking about last week. I introduced, like I said, what I'm calling midlife and what changes tend to happen, what lessons that I'm learning. And last week's episode was entitled You Are a Creator. Growing up and taking responsibility and beginning to feel like an adult for me has been a period when I have discovered that I'm a creator. And that's what I'm sharing here with you. You are a creator. Your life is the sum total of all the decisions that you've made, of the choices that you've made, of the things that you have done or not done. You are the creator who's created your life, and we are going to go into the details of how is it you create your life, how you can undo those things that you don't like, how you can keep doing the things that are getting you the results that you want. So at the end of the day, you want to take full responsibility. You want to realize that the buck stops with you. You want to say, hey, This in my life I like, this in my life I don't like, but all of it has to do with what I have I have done or not done. In other words, there is nobody to blame for your results. There is nobody on whom the buck stops except the person you see when you look in the mirror. It's when you take full responsibility for your life that you end up changing the circumstances of your life. So that is the summary of what we discussed last week if you're just catching up with this conversation. And of course, the video is here. You can scroll down and you can have. I just figured I take a minute or two to just recap on what it is that we covered last week. Now, this week, I'm going to be talking about the 3 stages of midlife. I want to be talking about the 3 stages of midlife. I like to call them C1, C2, and C3. And let me just list them, and then I can go ahead to break them down to what I understand that to be. And C1 for me is midlife crisis. Always talked about, it's the commonest thing you hear. Crisis is the word that follows midlife very often, and that I call C1. That is midlife crisis. Now, C2 is the midlife challenges or midlife changes. And then C3 is midlife celebration or midlife commencement. I'm going to break each one of these so that then we can understand what I mean by each of them. Now, midlife crisis for me is the shock. It comes with shock. It comes with you figuring, oh my goodness, what's happening? A lot of the times, midlife crisis will usually be an unpleasant experience. A lot of times you've had people talk about midlife as being the time when you want to change the way you do things. People usually get confused. A lot of married people will go into an affair. A lot of people will want to make, rushed decisions. I know people who have resigned from their job, people who have moved their homes. People want to reclaim their youth, which in my mind is not necessarily a bad thing, but there seems to be, the word crisis itself talks about a change, a turnaround. So midlife crisis is that period in your life when you figure something has hit you. You figure, oh my goodness, it's a particular change. Like you go down a cliff. Things are either going to go up or go down, but there's definitely going to be a change. That's what I understand to be midlife, which I refer to as C1. Now, once you have assimilated, sort of accepted, sort of gotten to the place where you are at peace with where you're at in life, then in my mind, you're at C2, and that is midlife challenge. That is when you turn around. And so you stop thinking of your midlife as a crisis, but as a challenge. If, for example, you're not happy with your financial position, you no longer look at it as, oh my goodness, it's doom and gloom. You figure it's a challenge. This is an opportunity for me to start over. This is an opportunity for me to change a few things. This is an opportunity for me to achieve those goals which I've probably looked forward to and not yet managed to achieve. So that's what I'm referring to as midlife challenge. And that is also the time when you embrace change. That is the time when you figure it might not be a bad thing that things have changed. It might not be a terrible thing that I can no longer fit in my old clothes. I've probably put on a little weight. I've probably lost a little weight. I'm probably in the middle of having children, or you have just finished having your children. In my case, it was the time when I had finished having children. You now embrace change. It's now a different season in your life. I'm putting children through school. I have all this added responsibility. I'm trying to build my business. You look at it as a challenge. That's what I'm calling the midlife challenge. That is when you are now raring to go. Now, for this season, I strongly recommend 3 shifts. 1, you want to shift to gratitude. Remember, when you are at midlife crisis, you are thinking, oh my goodness, I'm no longer young. That's a negative feeling. That's I haven't achieved this. You're feeling inadequate in one way or another. You are now shifting when you're at midlife challenge. You are now shifting to where you shift to gratitude. There are so many times in our lives when we are facing a challenge, when we are needing to change some things in our lives, that we forget to be grateful for what is going on. There are very many times when whenever I've talked about my age, because I've never understood why we make a secret about our age. However, you always hear things like ladies never tell their age. I don't have a single problem with saying my age because on the day I was born, I was born. So I'm either 51 today or I'm dead. So I like to look at my age as something to be grateful for. People my age have passed on. People my age have people who were born the year I was born have not made it to this place. Now, I might be complaining about I haven't achieved XYZ in my life. But if you were to focus on the gratitude, if you were to shift to gratitude, whenever you are depressed, and this one you should do quite literally, begin your day every day by writing down the things that you're grateful for. That is a practice that I do. I've done that for years. I begin my day by writing, and I lately have graduated to writing it with my non-dominant hand. I'm right-handed and I write with my left hand. I journal with my left hand, and I don't start my day without writing down at least 5 things for which I am profoundly grateful. I learned this from a teacher and it has completely revolutionized my life, because what happens is it shifts your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. So start your day every day by listing the things that you're grateful for. You could be complaining about your boss. This person is terrible. This person treats me very badly. But if you have a boss that suggests you have a job, you could be complaining that you don't have school fees for your children, you don't have this and this that you'd like to buy. That's not focusing on the fact that you do have children. You could be complaining about how you hate your car, terrible car, my car stalls on the road. You could be grateful that you have a car. Very many times when our focus is on what we don't have, we are unable to improve anything. So the first shift I'm recommending in this season, in this stage, which I'm calling C2 Midlife Challenge, the first shift I want you to shift is to shift into gratitude. The next one is shift into action. Shift into action. Remember, midlife suggests that you're done growing up. You're now at an adult level. You're now grown up. You're now living with the consequences of your decisions. You're now mapping out your life. And midlife is also the time when you're the strongest physically and mentally. Midlife, whatever you want to define midlife as, if you want to define it between 40 and 60, if you want to define it between 35 and 65, that's up to you. Midlife for me is the time when you figure you can no longer use youth as an excuse. From that day on until the time you're physically not able to work anymore, in that life you are at the top of your physical strength. And that is why I'm recommending that you shift into action. You would rather act and regret than not act at all. If you have a brilliant idea, and say, for example, to start the business you want to start, or to apply for the job that you want to apply, or whatever it is that you want to take action on, you need 5 requirements. If you have only 2, get started. If you have only 1, get started. If you're trying to navigate a journey, if you're trying to go to a place, you don't ever have to know the whole trip, how it's all going to work out. But the way life works is usually you take one step and the next step appears. You take one step and the other step appears. So I'm recommending that you take one step at a time, but that you get started. Most of the time we get stuck in not knowing where to start, in focusing on what we don't have, in getting ready to get ready, and therefore you're not in action. You're not in action. Most of the time, and I'm very sure you've had the cliche that says, 20 years from today, you'll be more sorry about the things you did not do than the things that you did. I would rather you start a business and lose money, because that way you learn how not to do it. I would rather you apply for a promotion and not get it, because that way I would rather you apply for a loan and not get it, because the people who won't give you the loan will tell you why they're not giving you the loan, and that way they will tell you what to go and correct in your business. So be action oriented. You would rather be trying than not trying. You would rather be doing than not doing. So the second shift here is shift into action. And the third one, and possibly the most important one, is shift to service. Shift to service. Whatever it is that you do for a living, whether you have a job, whether you run a business, when you shift to service, when your mind is focused on how can I serve. Say, for example, I'm a waitress and my job is to serve meals to people in a restaurant. If I focus on the service, maybe that's a very obvious Maybe that's a very obvious example because the job itself in that case is actually serving. It's actually called serving. But say, for example, I had a shop. Say, for example, I have a shop and I stock whatever it is that I stock. Maybe I stock electronics, and my job is to sell electronics to people. If I can look at it as service, if I can look at it like, if I sell you this gadget, then you're able to do A, B, C, and D. So I'm serving you in this way so that my focus is on service, so that I want to give you the best because my aim is to improve your life. That will definitely enhance the things that you're doing. That will enhance the productivity. That will enhance what it is that you are doing because you are focused on service. So that's my C2, which I call midlife challenge, and where I'm recommending that you make 3 shifts. You shift into gratitude, shift into action, and shift into service. Whatever it is that you're doing, think about it as service. Whatever it is that you're doing, if you're a driver, whatever you are doing, you are serving humanity. And it is in serving humanity that you get your own goals. There's a famous quote, I think it's Zig Ziglar, who said, to achieve your own goals, help a lot of other people achieve their goals. I like to look at it like, how many people are my blessing? That's how I like to look at it. How many people are praying for me today? Because if the person I employ is helping their mother to get their medication, then I'm the one they are praying for when they pray for their child to do well in life. So I need to multiply the number of people that I'm blessing, because when they are praying, they are literally praying for me. That is the way I like to look at it. So whether it is in my service, whether it is in direct me serving people at my business, or it's me employing somebody, I want to be a blessing to as many people as possible, so that when they are praying for their own needs, indirectly they are praying for me. That means that a lot of other people are praying for me. So increase the number of people for whom you're a blessing, and you will discover that your life will be immensely blessed, and not just in the area of finances, but even in peace and happiness. Let's just not gauge our life just in how well we do in finances, because you could have all the finances in the world and be miserable. You want your life to be one of happiness. You want your life to be one of good relationships. In fact, when I look at the whole summary of life, I like to think that for me to be happy, my relationships must be right, my health must be right, and then, of course, my finances must be right. I'm not sure which one is more important than the other among those 3, because for me, all of them have to be working right for my life to be happy. So look at all of that as service. Find how many people are blessed by your life, and that will enhance your level of blessing. Now, C3, my favorite, where I'm trying to get, where you should be trying to get, where you want to live, is midlife celebration. That is where you have sort of relaunched your life. You've started the second half. You're happy with where you are, and in this stage, you discover you truly don't care. You really don't care. Let me break down what I mean by this. When you get to the place where you're in midlife celebration, you discover, and maybe that is more true for us ladies, and I can only speak as a lady. This tends to be more true for us, but when you're in this stage in life, you become more self-aware. You become your own first priority. Nowadays, I can tell you that I am the first priority in my life. If something doesn't make me happy, I simply don't do it. Days are long gone when I would do things to please people, when I would attend an event from a sense of obligation, when I would donate money from a sense of obligation. Today, if I attend an event, today, if I keep someone's company, is because I am building their life or they're building mine. I no longer have the patience to be around people who are negative just because I have the obligation. I no longer attend events for the sake of attending them, because remember, we talked about midlife becoming a time when you become conscious of time. You discover that your life is finite, your time is finite. You become more deliberate about the choices that you make, and we talked about that in the last session, that in midlife you tend to be very particular about the things that you attend, the things that you allocate your time to, because you realize that your time is finite. So I've discovered during this time that I want to make myself the first priority in my own life. And my children have pointed that out to me a lot of times. Mom, you really like yourself nowadays? And I'm like, I'm the first priority in my whole life. I've spent my whole beginning of my life raising you guys. Now it's time for me to sit back and enjoy some me time. And so, like I said, let's look at various areas. Let's look at various areas of our lives where we can make ourselves first priority during this time of midlife celebration. Now, in the area of finance, one of the things that I needed to make serious changes in, and I've done a lot of videos concerning how I crashed a few times in business. And one of the decisions, one of the turnarounds that I needed to do was in the area of finance. And I have found a great help in tuning into the spirit. How do you decide what business to go into? How do you decide who to partner with? How do you decide how to make whatever decision you're making? I have found it very, very useful to tune into spirit, to go silent, to listen to the spirit, and to make decisions based on my intuition. Because how do we speak to God? We speak to God in prayer. How does God speak to us? God speaks to us in our intuition. The gut feeling that you get in the you that is within you is usually what will inform you. When you learn to trust your gut, you will discover that you will make decisions that are kind of bigger than you. And for me, the easiest example is this series. This is something that came to me. I just woke up with a notion in the morning, maybe why don't I talk about Midlife Series? And I've had so much response from this, and I'm very sure that this was not of me. We will usually get informed by the spirit of what it is that is the right thing for us to do. And if we can do that, and we can separate, I'm trying, and this is a lesson I'm still learning about how to separate income from work. How to separate income from work. A lot of times, I think it's a wrong socialization that we've done that has taught us for generations over generations that we get paid, we exchange time for money. So that if I'm doing something, I'm looking forward to getting paid for it. In my experience, I haven't managed yet, but I try to separate my income from my service so that I will serve because that is how I earn my breath. And then I will trust God to supply for me. And that seems to have worked. If we can look at our work as service so that we don't only do those things that pay us. We do those things because I believe that God has given each one of us a gift. And this gift will usually, actually the Bible says that your gift will bring you before great men. You have a gift in you, and everybody, if I had $1 for every time I have said that, I even have a book, Play to Win, that talks about identifying your gifting and your talent and how to use it. Everybody has a gift. I'm reminded of a story, and I've told this story before, of a time when I ran a magazine, and the guy who did our graphics at that point, who designed the magazine and all of that, one day in a conversation, he tells me that his passion is actually cartooning. He likes to draw cartoons and all of that. And I told him, you know what you do? Make a cartoon every month. We'll carry it in the magazine, and then I'll advertise you. I'll give you full credit in the magazine. He said, not unless I was going to pay him extra. If this thing is your passion, if this thing is that thing that you do. I like something that I had very, very recently when one speaker said that the way you identify your talent is this. It's that thing you do effortlessly and you do very well. That thing which you do very well and do it effortlessly. So for him, he did cartoons very well. He did them effortlessly, but he wouldn't do them unless someone was paying him to do. I told him, forget it. I'm thinking to myself, this is something that you already enjoy doing. If you're a singer, it's your passion to sing. You enjoy singing. You have the obligation to sing. Don't worry too much about, am I getting paid to do this? Just serve. You will be very surprised how you will get rewarded for what you have already done. I have said 1,000 times there is no shortage of jobs at all in our country. What there is shortage of are salaries. We have attached so much that whenever I work, I have to be paid. And that has hurt our attitude to work. That has hurt the way we have raised our children. If we can be looking for ways to serve, there would be no shortage of employment. So tune into spirit and do that work that is fun for you to do. In the area of health, in this season of midlife celebration, I'm recommending that you find things that you enjoy doing. A lot of times when you're told to be active, to live an active life, to live healthy, to eat well and exercise, what stops the majority because a very small minority of people exercise, a very, very small minority of those of us who live sedentary city lives. a very small minority of us exercise. I think it would be less than 15%. That's not, I'm just estimating, it's not statistics that I'm aware of or anything, but I'm thinking about 15% of people exercise, the others do not. The reason they don't is they haven't found that what they enjoy doing. It's a very good idea for you to identify what is it around the area of health and fitness that you enjoy doing. Because remember, we are talking about midlife, we are talking about you're no longer a spring chicken. You want to be deliberate and you want to be intentional about how you maintain your health. So find something that you enjoy doing. I love the outdoors. I like to be outdoors. I like to take a walk. This morning I walked about 8.5 kilometers. I really enjoy taking a walk, especially early in the morning. It freshens my brain. I get a lot of ideas when I'm walking. It's something I've done for years. It's something I enjoy. I enjoy gymming. I gym every once in a while. I enjoy swimming. Lately, I've taken up golfing. It's very fun. Find that thing that you like to do. There's people who like running. I have friends who like running. I don't like running at all. I have friends who like different sports. I have a daughter who likes tennis. Find that thing that you enjoy doing so that then your workout becomes fun. Your workout becomes part of how you enjoy your life. In the area of relationships, you want to also be very deliberate and intentional. Remember, this is midlife. This means that you're at the peak of your life. You make the decisions on whether you are happy or not in a relationship, and therefore be deliberate, be intentional about those things that make you happy and those things that don't, and learn to choose yourself. Learn to choose yourself, especially for us ladies. Sometimes we endure relationships that are not pleasant, that are not happy for years and years and years and years. I'm recommending choose yourself. Choose yourself. I say this very often as well. Be completely independent of the good opinion of others. Don't sit in a relationship that is painful for you because of what people are going to say. Even if those people be your children, even if those people be your parents, even if those people be your nearest and dearest, prioritize you. This is the only life you get. So if you're in a relationship that in any way puts you down, I like to gauge my relationships in this way. Who do I have to be with this person? If I have to be shorter and inferior and slower and not having an opinion, I'm walking away from that relationship. If I have to guard myself because this is such a negative, toxic energy, and this is someone who is talking down at me all the time, discouraging me, I'm walking away. I'm walking away because I'm choosing me. I'm choosing me. So don't be in a place where you're in this relationship for a sense of obligation. Remember, this is C3. This is midlife celebration. This is you coming to your fullest. This is you living your fullest life. You want your life to be a celebration. You want to wake up and breathe and think, thank you, God, for this wonderful new day. If that is how you want to live your life, you owe it to yourself to live that way. You owe it to yourself to live that way. A lot of the people I meet are C1s and C2s. A lot of the people that I interact with, I am encouraging you, and we are going to go through this series, and I'm going to be giving pointers on how you can become a C3, how you can get into midlife celebration, how you can live at the peak of your life in the area of finance, in the area of health, and in the area of relationships, because you owe it to yourself. And let me close with this. Find little things that make you happy. Find little things that make you happy. Find that thing that puts a smile on your face, whatever that thing be. Find something that puts a smile on your face and do it for yourself today, because hello, you owe it to yourself. I want to close here. I'm going to respond to any questions that come through. I want to keep this conversation going, and I look forward to our next conversation. Next Monday, I'm going to be talking about look inward. A lot of times we look for our solutions outside, we look for our solutions outward, and I want to encourage us to look within. So our next session, we're going to be talking about look inward. And until then, this has been my great pleasure. My name is Christine. Have a very good day, good evening, or good night, depending on when you're seeing this. Bye-bye.